It's Yvette here with Health Without Hype podcast, and I have Dr. Allan Venegas with us for our first episode of the season, so we're super excited. And so we'll jump right in. Dr. Allan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for, again, inviting us, having us. Again, my name's Dr. Allan Venegas. I'm with Connect Family Chiropractic in Tampa, the owner. I've been practicing for about, 6 years now. And it's definitely been a journey, and, just super excited to be here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about where you went to school and what had you go to chiropractor school.
Yeah, so I was in school in Texas, and I actually originally wanted to go to physical therapy, PT school. And I didn't really know, probably like most people, I thought chiropractic was growing up, I had some sisters in the military, so it was like, back pain or like car accidents. And so I didn't really know too much about it. That was kind of like my understanding of it. And I was in school, and I had this chiropractor come and just talk to us about what I'll share some today. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Like, I never knew that. Like, most people maybe don't know that. And so that kind of it just kind of happened so quickly. And I ended up going to Dallas, Texas for chiropractic school. I graduated from Parker in the height of 2020. So, wow. Yeah, it was the crazy COVID years. But I've been practicing since, and have just learned a lot along the way about what chiropractic is, and I'm excited to share that message here.
Definitely. I was also one of those people. The first time I met Dr. Allan, he was out at a community market.
Yeah, like an outreach market kind of thing.
And, I was there to just get some coffee and maybe some bread. And Dr. Allan was there giving out information. And, he was just so nice when he was standing out there. A lot of people and, those type of situations, it's not always like you want to go up to everybody at their booth, but he was very warm and just answering questions. And I had a lot of questions because I was like, I don't really like chiropractors. And instead of getting that could have been a very awkward conversation to start, you were just like, I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And so what do you think people, have those kind of misconceptions, and how do you navigate that?
Gosh, yeah, there's so many ways we can go. Yeah. I actually think one of the best things, but then one of the worst things, probably for a lot of professions, is actually social media. I've seen a lot of chiropractic videos, and some people love watching those videos, like the cracking and the popping and those things. But some people, it really turns them away from that. Mm-hmm. And so that may be something they don't want to go to a chiropractor for. Mm-hmm. And then the other side, the flip side of that, is there's a lot of healthcare providers that, may see those kind of things too. And they're like, man, that looks painful, or looks dangerous, or can hurt someone. And so a lot of times it may steer them away from being go see a chiropractor. Mm-hmm. And so I think probably the biggest uphill challenge as a chiropractor, kind of what you mentioned, is we just have to educate people. And, it all starts from the very beginning. And I think our clinic is kind of operated that way, in that you might just be coming in for your back issue or your neck issue or something. And we're going to uncover that, but let's get you educated on how your whole body's going to work, and how chiropractic plays a role in that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was shocked the first time I went in. So I met Dr. Allan. He did a quick evaluation at that market. He had me lay down. And at that time I was having a lot of middle of my back pain, because I had just had my son and I was carrying him around a lot. And honestly, I just kind of thought that was normal, because I just expected it from carrying an infant around all the time. So I didn't really necessarily think I needed anything.
Right.
And I think a lot of people because it's not excruciating, it's just discomfort throughout the day. Sure. They just take some Tylenol and keep it moving, kind of thing. And so when I came in, I was surprised. They do a really thorough assessment. I had x-rays and the nerve assessment done.
Yep.
And so I really liked that because I'm, of course, a health nerd. So I wanted to know kind of everything that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like having that information beforehand took away a lot of the anxiety about like, are you going to crack my back? What's that all going to be like?
Right.
Knowing that you had like a full picture of everything that was going on.
Right. And that's one thing too, is that, not just it could be in chiropractic, but in a lot of places, it's kind of like everyone gets the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so, for us, it's like, okay, well, let's take a look at like, what's your problem? What's your health history? Mm-hmm. Let's take a bigger picture, your x-rays, and we all kind of roll that into like a game plan. Mm-hmm. And so not everyone gets the same thing. We'll talk about too, like we see kids in the office, like we may not see kids as often as we see someone who's like 70 or someone who's really active in their 30s. So there's so many different ways. And that's why I think, at least like I've enjoyed practicing in our clinic, is because we really like try and be as personalized as possible.
Yeah. And you can definitely feel that when you walk in, everybody like knows your name. And I think that's a really important part of healthcare, is for it to be personalized.
Yeah.
And I love that you said like, not everybody gets the same thing. And actually I was like, you can crack my back, but you cannot crack my neck, because I still, even despite, the x-rays and everything, it just made me uncomfortable.
Right.
And you were so great about it. You're like, we don't have to do your neck, and you actually have some other options, which I had no idea. I thought like, you just go in there, get your back and neck cracked, and if you don't want that, this isn't for you. And you were so gracious and educated me. Can you tell everyone a little bit about like the other options you have for people?
Yeah. So, when you go to chiropractic school, there's of course they teach you different ways to adjust. There's a lot of different techniques that you can learn. Some are more low force, some are more tool or like instrument assisted. And so I didn't know that either. There's so many different ways that you can adjust the spine without having to do maybe like the traditional like pop your back, pop your neck, twist this way, that way. Mm-hmm. I like to feel like hands-on, like I've like just learned to like feel like tone and muscle and all these things. So I like to use my hands, but we have tools available at the office, like for you, in a lot of instances where we'll adjust someone that way. One, it could just be more effective. It could be more specific. They might have a condition, they might have a fear or like, something like that. And so, the biggest thing, I think, probably the number one thing, besides like safety, is just making sure you're comfortable. Because if you're not comfortable, I'm going to feel that, and your adjustment is going to reflect that. You know what I mean? So.
Awesome. So I'm sure you get this a lot. People come in and they want the quick fix. And like, that's one thing we see a lot in healthcare. How do you kind of navigate that? And what's kind of like your response to people who just want to come in once or twice?
Yeah, well, I think it all kind of starts with like the first initial visit is like, what are you looking for? Because like, if you're in town for a couple of days and you're like, I only need an adjustment, it's like, okay. But it's like, if you really have an issue, which most people, like I have a health issue, I have a spinal issue or just some condition, and you're looking to fix it like long term, I think you have to understand that it's not going to be like a one-time thing. And I think part of it too, it kind of goes back into how, a lot of instances we resort to maybe like medication or an injection, and it's like a one-time thing. Like, let me just pop this, Tylenol or ibuprofen or something, and my headache went away. Like, it was quick. But then the headache comes back tomorrow or 2 days from now, and then it's like you're taking it again. And so it's very easy to kind of see it as like a short term, like, let me just take this real quick. Yeah. And I'm not here to talk today about like medications are bad or good. Like, that's something separate. I think there's definitely a need for it. I think the problem can be you start to resort to that, and that's kind of like your dependency. And when you resort to that kind of stuff long term, one, your body may build a resistance to it.
Absolutely.
Two, the problem, the underlying problem may just kind of get worse and worse over time. And then three, because the problem is worse over time, now you're limited to like, what are your options?
Yeah, it's not.
And so, you know, for us, you talked about like, well, how do we address the quick fix? Well, I think you just kind of have to understand like, well, what are your health goals? Like, are you just looking for like a short term, like I just need to get better? You know, let's say you're an athlete, I'm just ready to get back on the field in like a week. Or are you like, hey, I'm a mom with a child or a family, like I want to be healthy long term for me and my family. And so that approach is like, I think it just, as the person, it shifts your mindset into like, okay, this isn't going to be a one-time thing. Like this is a commitment, a lifestyle commitment. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think you guys approach like doing the x-rays and the nerve analysis and things like that. It also helps open the patient's eyes to like, oh, this isn't just like my back hurts a little bit. Like this is something like more serious and that you didn't even realize was going on. Like that was what happened for me. Like I was thinking, oh, I'm going to go in. You're going to tell me, oh, this is like, there's a little inflammation in your mid back. And I had no idea. Like I get headaches I used to get headaches all the time. And just us talking and you like, you know, like I said, you were just very patient and thorough and you were just asking me about like different aspects of my life. And the headache thing came up and I never even thought like, oh, maybe it's an issue with my neck or anything like that. Sure. But the scans and the x-ray showed that my neck was actually like terribly like misaligned and like a lot of issues. And like the fact that we were able to, you know, I did go in and again, we were using the tool. I was not getting adjusted because I didn't feel comfortable and I still got those results. Like it was just one of those things. Like I didn't even, like you said, I was just taking, Tylenol when it got really bad or just trying to drink more water because I figured my headache was related to dehydration, like kind of, and like I'm a nurse, so I'm like diagnosing myself and it's like I still don't know enough about everything that like, sometimes my headaches would get better, but the underlying issue was still that my neck was like, had a lot of issues.
And that's interesting because you kind of have to look at your body in like two different, so it's like what you're feeling and then like how do you function. So most people, it's somewhere around like maybe 10 to 15% of your like nerves, like your sensory, you feel. So like your pain receptors. So like I feel a headache, I feel a back pain, I feel digestion problems. But the other, you know, percent of that in your body is how you function. And sometimes you don't feel that stuff. Like, you know, when was the last time you could feel your thyroid gland and make sure it's functioning well? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the reason we like to use that assessment, that nerve assessment in our office is because we're able to kind of just see temperature along your spinal column. And if we can pick up inflammation, well, then we can infer there might be something going on here. And at that, wherever that nerve is, whether it's in your neck and you know, or in your lower back, we can kind of trace it and say, well, this is leading to this area in your body. And because this area of your body, we know controls your digestive system or your reproductive system or your urinary system. Like maybe there's not an issue now, but like long term, could there be an issue? And I'll tell you honestly, more times than not, when we do that assessment, people are like, you know what? I do have this. Like I do have severe menstrual cramps or I do have this IBS or I have colitis, whatever it is. And so it just kind of helps us figure out, number one, like how do you feel, but also like how is your body actually functioning? And that's what you were saying, like sometimes you don't feel that, and so it's a great tool we have to just kind of assess that.
And I think also it comes on over time. Like inflammation has kind of become this buzzword, so I want to like dig into that a little bit more. So you know, I feel like the spine, people just think it's like, oh, it's just, you know, your bones, your back. It's like, but it's also like you were talking about, you know, all your nerves come from your spinal cord and they're literally feeding, you know, the energy, the, you know, they're taking in responses from the outside world, but they're also feeding responses to your body and kind of like, basically they're it's like the highway for all the information in your body.
Exactly.
And so when the spine is misaligned, basically those nerves are getting inflammation. So, you know, there's swelling around them. And so they're not able to give out those responses as effectively.
Right. And that's one thing I was going to say real quick is that, you know, you hear the term health and wellness thrown around all the time. And it's associated a lot of times with like maybe supplements or diets or exercises. And again, like it could be or couldn't be. The idea though is like if you really, really want to get down to like the understanding of like health and wellness, you have to understand where it comes from. And to understand where it comes from, you have to understand that like, and this is what blew my mind, is that, you know, when we're conceived, like we're just two little tiny cells, right? And these two tiny cells, they come together and they divide into 4 and then 8 and 16 and they just, you know, replicate. And, you know, eventually you form as like, we're talking like in the womb, like you eventually form these cells turn into organs and then they turn into systems. And then in 270 days, Mother Nature has produced these 2 little cells to become like this fully functioning human. And so you have, and to get to my point is like, you have to understand that, like, how did you do that? Like, as like, how do you know, like, all right, it's week 6, time for my heart to beat, you know what I mean? It's like your body has this.
It's so intuitive.
It is. And you can call it different things like an inner wisdom or in chiropractic, we like to use the word innate intelligence. There's this intelligence in the body that tells you, like, it tells your body what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And even now, like every day we have, I think it's like 37 trillion cells at a time that are doing these chemical reactions. Like you're digesting your food from this morning and you're producing enzymes and maybe you're getting hungry. Like all these things are happening and you don't think about it.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything
and
for
so,
it to work.
To kind of get back to your point is like, you have this nervous system, right, which is your brain and your spinal cord, and it's protected by your spine, right, that hard bone in your back. And so that spine is designed, it's like custom built for you, which is so cool. It's custom built for you, and it has these exit holes that you talked about, and these holes, again, some of them go to the fingers, some of them go to the heart, the lungs, like everything has to be controlled though by those nerves and nervous system. The problem becomes is, you know, we're all prone to being in traumas like car accidents and slip and falls and sports injuries. And then another thing I see a lot of is these repetitive traumas. We're all maybe work from home or like you're a UPS worker and you're picking boxes up all day. These traumas, they add and they accumulate over time. And it'll eventually, instead of now that bone protecting that nerve, it can start to pinch it. And sometimes you feel it immediately. Like we get people that are like this sciatic pain or this numbness.
Those are kind of the ones that come to mind. Like people are going to come in and be like, oh my gosh.
Exactly. Those like you can feel. But we talked about like, remember that feeling and then the function. The function part of it is like you don't feel. And how many times do we see in the news or like maybe we know someone where it's like this person who was perfectly healthy, never had a sick day in their life, one day just like keeled over and died of a heart attack. And you're like, how did that happen? And the point is like sometimes that inflammation or that the impulses from those nerves, it's like maybe over time it damages maybe it's not like a heart attack or something extreme, but maybe your heart isn't working 100% or your lungs.
But it's over time, slowly, like it's going to 90% and 80%, and then that's kind of snowballing into more issues. But it's not like you're getting that sharp pain in your leg because the nerves pinch. It's like you're just, and we're so adaptable in the same way that you talked about, like the cells just kind of know what to do. Well, they know that they have an injury now, you know, this inflammation's there, so they kind of adapt. And I feel like so many people are just going through life in this like kind of fog. That's how I felt with the headaches. It's like I just kind of had this fog that was always there, and instead of really addressing the issue because I didn't understand the issue, I was, you know, taking supplements, trying to maybe my B12's low, like you know. And I feel like so many people do that because that's what we hear and that's what we see, and that's why this is so important and why we wanted to talk about it. Is like if you don't get to the root cause, you know, a lot of those things that are out there, it's just hype, and people are just trying to get you to take the next supplement or whatever, and it's not actually going to help.
Right. And I will say, like you said, how like, you know, when you have damage long term, I kind of think of it like dimming a light. Like if I dim the light 10% right now on the set here, like you probably wouldn't notice an immediate change, but over time you're gonna. And so, like for example, that light dimming to your heart or to your digestive system or wherever it is, like over time it'll start to turn into things like maybe IBS or maybe heartburn or reflux or extreme menstrual cramps, like those problems. And so the way chiropractic fits into that is really just like, hey, how do we adjust? How do I move the spine instead of now irritating that nerve? How do we get it to kind of move back and now just protect the nerve? Like how do we take pressure off of that nerve and nervous system? And I think when you do that consistently over time, I mean, so and we'll probably go into this at some point. Like you see so many cool responses from the human body, and so I will say, kind of to what you were saying about like the hype, how you hear all the time, like sometimes you are deficient in things, like hey, take this mineral or this supplement, but a lot of times your body has that ability to overcome this condition or issue. It just can't because, like you said, that nervous system can't communicate properly. And so my job as a chiropractor is really simple. It's like, how do I just provide better communication to your nervous system, to the rest of your body? And really it just kind of allows you to do the healing rather than having to give you something to take or something to inject. And so that's kind of, to me, one of the coolest things about chiropractic. That's so unique. And in my opinion, there's nothing like there's nothing alternative like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. No, I think it's super cool. I love that in your office you guys have the like actual spine. And I think like for me, I'm a visual person. So just seeing like, okay, this is how the spine's supposed to look.
Right.
And I love that you guys have so many like visuals in your office, and they even have like this big picture of like where all the nerves in your body, like, okay, the nerves coming out of your neck go to like wherever. And I think it shows you kind of like how everything's connected. But it is like you just notice, even if the spine is like subtly shifted, how it pinches on those little outputs for the nerves. And it's not an extreme thing. Like I said, I wasn't in excruciating pain. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I need to go get my spine fixed. That literally wasn't a thought in my mind. It was oh, I've been carrying, this baby around and he gets bigger every week. So it's heavy. That was my mindset. But like when you looked at my spine, it was literally like twisted all like to one side. So it's like, and so all of that,
And the problem is that, that damage accumulates over time. It's permanent damage. And so like one of the questions that I get asked sometimes is like, let's say you have this curve in your back or scoliosis or whatever it is. It's like, hey, can you fix this? And the honest answer is, I don't know. Like, I don't know how long it's been there. So I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know how your body responds to this. But what I can tell you is that if we can adjust your spine, no matter what condition it's in, and again, allow your own body to kind of heal through that process, there's just no way over time that your body will do more damage to it. Like, that's one thing too, to understand how cool your nervous system is like this state of balance is, your nervous system, like what you need, it knows what you need. It'll never hurt you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It can only help you. And, but you have to understand too, like it's not going to be an immediate thing. In fact, most times it's not an immediate thing. It's like a long-term thing. But I will tell you, and anyone here who's probably been under consistent chiropractic care is like when you're under chiropractic care for a long period of time, you're going to notice like your life is just exponentially better than when you weren't under care, because you have total control over your body and your nervous system and your health. And so to me, that's again, like one of the coolest things is like, we talked about where does health come from? It comes from the inside, and unfortunately we are in this like time where it's like, hey, buy these supplements or buy this gadget or whatever, And sometimes it does help, but it's like, if you want to really talk about health, like you have to understand it comes from the inside. And the cool thing is we all have it. We're all born with it. We just have to take care of it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think maintenance is a huge thing that, I think it's not as like glamorous or fun. And so it doesn't get the attention that it needs, because I feel like everybody, we're just like programmed now. There's so much, social media, and everybody's just doing all these videos and things like that. And so we're just looking for that, the next big thing. And it's like really just maintaining, the things that we need to do. And it's not, only the chiropractor, it's like eating healthy. And, it's like everybody always asks me like, oh, what diet should I follow? And it's like, and there's literally been studies on that. It's like, it doesn't matter what diet you follow. It just matters that you follow one and stay consistent. And like, that's not the fun and glamorous answer that people want, but it's like, it's actually really simple, and people want to make it more complicated because I think they just want to find an easier way without having, but like anything in health and life, you just really have to stay consistent with it for it to
it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you remember years ago, there was this, I can't remember the name of it, but there was like this gadget that you could just like wrap around your stomach and it would like vibrate. And the idea is like, it's going to stimulate your muscles and your core. Like you could get a 6-pack from just sitting on the couch and eating potato chips.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, it's like, health, sometimes it's not convenient. In fact, most times it's probably not convenient. Most people, it's hard to like work out, and it's hard to, you want this food, like you want pizza and fried foods, like your brain sometimes it craves that. And so sometimes health is not convenient. And so sometimes, or I think a lot of times now, companies or people have found ways to kind of make it more convenient. And again, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's like this gadget or this fad that people can just buy into because it sounds nice, but the reality is it doesn't really replace the commitment, the maintenance that you talked about that you have to do. And I'll make one comment real quick on that because, being health, like we talked about health, it's not easy. Like long term, it's very hard. And but I will tell you, and anyone, if you know someone who has bad health, living good health and wellness is challenging, but living with bad health is almost impossible.
Absolutely.
Like if you think about someone with bad health, I mean, what does that do for your relationships? What does that do for your mental health? How does that affect, like, can you work? And if you can't work, what does that do to your income earning, your capacity?
Exactly.
So, you have to kind of think about it as like, choose your hard, being healthy it can be really challenging. But you have to have the mindset, like if I don't have health, you don't, it's like you don't have anything, you know what I mean? So that's how I kind of see it.
Absolutely. I think it's important too for younger people. We talked about this. How do we get them to start investing into their health early on? Because, as we both know, if you wait till you're getting, that excruciating back pain or all these symptoms, you're really late to the game.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it can be challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's why we're really here today, is to talk about that and create that awareness that, don't wait until, you're having that excruciating back pain or, you can't work anymore. We really want to start investing in your health up front. And yes, it'll feel, whether it's going to the gym or going to the chiropractor, like, you're going to have to rearrange some stuff, like for me, it was like when we talked about the plan, I'm like, how, and everybody does this, whether you're working out or how can I fit that into my schedule? It's already so busy, but it's like, the nice thing is like you do, if you want to make it happen, you'll find a way. And I also love that you guys make it easy. Like I was able to bring my son in with me, I feel like you guys are really, inviting in that way and make it comfortable for families to like bring kids in, and like, me and my fiance would swap out and things like that. So I think that's important to like increase access.
Exactly. I think the hardest part in anything, whether it's like the diet or the workout or like, it's like, it's just starting, like taking that first step. And like you were talking about, I think, unfortunately, a lot of people, that first step is the sciatic issue. They woke up this morning and they're like, I need to go now. Versus like, hey, it doesn't sound as nice to be like, hey, let me just go get blood work done today, or let me go to the chiropractor, let me go, it's like the hardest part is just starting. I will tell you, like, once you start in diet, in exercise, in anything,
it instantly gets easier after that first.
And you really start to notice, like, wow, my life, my health is exponentially better. I feel better. I look better. My relationships are better. Like, your life is just instantly better when you can just take care of your health. And so if you are, I guess my advice would be, like, if you are younger and you're like, I kind of get some back pain or I get some discomfort or I have like whatever issue, is just like taking that first step, that initiative. And once you do, I feel like you're going to be glad you did.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And I think being informed about your health, like, and maybe your back or neck aren't that bad, but you have the information now, and then you don't have to wait until it's a hot mess,
Right.
I think that's also important, is like, just knowing where you stand. It's kind of like, and I feel like there are a lot of things that are kind of ingrained in us, like going to the dentist, everybody does that now, but
I was there Friday.
It's like, you have to go get a checkup and you don't wait until your teeth are messed up. And it's like, I think raising the awareness for other things, because like those other things aren't as prescribed, but dentists have done a great job of saying, like, no, you do need to come and be preventative and things like that. But it's like the same concept, you don't want to wait until your teeth are falling out to go to the dentist.
And I will tell you this, dentists will make sure that they will tell you, like, hey, you should get some routine care, but also every day you're brushing your teeth. You should be brushing your teeth. You should be flossing.
Good point.
And so the way chiropractic is, like, hey, I don't think it's unreasonable for someone to ask someone to come in at least once a month to just get adjusted, at least just get your spine checked. And the reality is, like, if you work, whether you're a remote worker, whether like you drive all day for your job, like, chances are you need chiropractic, because there's just no way that you go through your day to day and your spine is just like perfectly healthy and aligned. And one other thing I'll touch on is we all are on our phone all day long, or like we're, and so like this posture of like this tech neck of just looking down, like it creates issues within the spine. And so again, like it's not unrealistic to say, hey, just come get it checked or looked at or adjusted once a week, or once a month, like let's take a look at it deeper so that it's not a problem long term. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. So talking about brushing your teeth and like daily things that you can do, is there anything you like recommend to your patients, like things that they can do, like kind of maintenance at home, stretches, adjusting like their work environment?
Yeah.
What's the most beneficial?
I would say, especially kind of coming out of 2020, a lot of people were at home at their desk and maybe didn't have the best chair or the best setup. I would just say trying to, be nice and tall. As the day goes on, let's say you're on a worker, like you find yourself slouched by the end of the day, and just like day after day, week after week, like eventually your posture kind of becomes this. And then when I tell you like, hey, or someone says sit up straight, this feels uncomfortable and this is now normal. So I would just say like, trying to just be upright, being aware of how much you're looking down. Movement, of course, like if you're sitting all day long for 8 hours a day, like maybe go take a walk during your lunch break, or if you exercise, great, like just get some sort of movement. I mean, we're not really as humans designed to just sit all day. We have to move. And so just movement, I would say that. And one question I get asked a lot about is people that pop their back or pop their neck. Like, is that the same as the adjustment? And the short answer is it's not. It's kind of like if you have an itch, like you itch it. And so like people pop their back and like maybe for the moment or the next couple minutes or hour, it's like, all right, I feel good. But then it's like, you got to do it again in an hour. And the reason you're probably having to do that is because there's probably an underlying issue, like the spine is rotated or curved or something. And you're just getting like general movement into the spine, which is okay. But the chiropractor is going to make sure we get specific movement and motion into that issue so that you're not having to do that. In fact, most people that go to the chiropractor, again, long term, will find themselves, and I hear it all the time, it's like, hey, I'm not popping my neck anymore, I'm not popping my back anymore because I don't feel the need to. And so, but I would say definitely those routines, just move, make sure you're moving. have good posture.
So I was surprised to learn that, you even adjust babies.
Yeah.
And because I have my son's 11 months old. You actually just had a baby.
Just had a 1 month. Yeah, he's 1 month now.
Yeah, so congratulations.
Yeah,
and I think you had like a 1 or 2 month old come into the office, and I was like, is the baby the patient? And you were like, yes. So talk a little bit more about that and kids getting adjusted.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of this growing thing now. And, I know there's a lot of, like anything in health, there's a lot of back and forth. But my opinion is like every kid should be checked and adjusted. As early as possible. I adjusted my son, literally there's like the timestamp on the picture, 3 minutes after he was born. And I was like, well, why would you need to adjust a child or a kid or a baby? Number one, the adjustments are not like adults. I use like my pinkies. In fact, it's very, very gentle pressure on the neck. What are we trying to accomplish? We're accomplishing just what we talked about. We're just trying to make sure that the spine is movable, that the baby has or child has a healthy nervous system. And what are some of the symptoms you might see in a child if, let's say, their spine is misaligned? Well, of course, they're not going to have headaches and sciatic issue and back issue, but that might manifest into things like ear infections all the time. A baby who's super colicky, reflux, they're throwing up all the time. They're not sleeping well, bedwetting, ADHD. Like there's a lot of dysfunction that you might see in children. And again, there's so much around that sometimes you don't know. You're like, well, let me take them to the pediatrician or the doctor. And not to say that that's not necessary in some cases. A lot of times, it can be. But sometimes it's like, well, let's give them this, and maybe that's not really the underlying cause of the issue. And so the reason I say all kids should be checked is because all kids, think about what they're doing all day long. When they start to learn to walk, they're falling on their butts all day long and diving headfirst into the couch and falling all over the place. And so we don't think about it, but those little traumas over time, they add up. Maybe now at 10 years old, you have a child who does have headaches or a 16-year-old girl who does have severe menstrual or abnormal issue. That's how it kind of manifests. So it's easier to get it looked at and fixed earlier on in life than waiting for like a sick adult who's had this problem for maybe decades. And now you're having to play catch up. Yeah, exactly. So,
awesome. Yeah, I think I was surprised, but it makes sense. We're all moving around. And to your point, babies that are in the womb, they're being manipulated, and birth itself is a trauma. So, that it's not unreasonable to think that their spine gets misaligned.
Right. And I would say too, it even starts during pregnancy. So like we see pregnant women too, because think about like everything's moving there and hips and like, you can see how it can kind of manifest into like a harder delivery for mom because maybe your pelvis is not in the right position. So now they have to get baby out a certain way with forceps or something. And it could just make the whole process harder. And so like for us, it's like, hey, even before baby's born, like let's make sure, like my wife, I was making sure we were adjusting her prior to delivery. And, this might sound biased, but she really did have like a really easy and smooth delivery. And I just wish like that could be the case for everybody. For everybody too.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
One other thing I have a question about, just because this is always interesting to me, is like the whole hip thing, the hips being like one's higher than the other, and like one leg being shorter and longer, and you look at that. How does that happen? Like...
That's a really good. It really depends on who you ask. My opinion is no hip or spine is perfectly even. Like your left leg, is always gonna grow maybe differently than your right leg. Like we're all very different in that sense.
Okay.
I don't think anyone is born with like perfectly even legs and perfectly even hips. It's just not realistic.
Okay. Yeah.
But
makes sense.
At that same time, it's like if we're taking x-rays and your hips are shifted like 6 millimeters or something, like that's where like you can see issues created because now there's compensation patterns and muscle tension, and that can create other issues again down the road. And so, for us, like when we're looking at your legs being even, most times I expect if I were to lay down right now, my legs wouldn't even be even. But that's why I also go to a chiropractor. And, it's just a different way and analysis for us to make sure like, hey, how can we get things into better position? And again, it's not even so much about your hips need to be perfectly even. It's just like, hey, how do we just put your body into a better state so that you have a better nervous system? And again, there's less tension, and you'll notice that too. Most people will feel that. They're like, I feel less spasms. I feel less backaches. I feel, less dysfunction, whatever it is.
Yeah, I just feel like that in itself could be a root cause for a lot of like lower back pain. And that's just like one of the things that a lot of people experience. Right. And it's like, it makes sense. Like if your one hip is way more tense and higher, then, your back's also compensating for that. You're walking different. And
honestly, it builds. So like if your hips are, think about like a house, like the foundation of a house. Like if the foundation of the house is off, the rest of the house is going to be built off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so sometimes people have like neck issues or upper back issues, and the tension's coming from the hip. And so that's why, like, at least in our office, I don't really like to just chase where it hurts. Like, where's the pain? It's like, let's take a look at everything. So that we can get an understanding for everything and how to get, again, ultimately to the root cause of the issue.
Yeah, so. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And it's super like counterintuitive because a lot of people do come in. Like for me, I was like, my middle of my back hurts. And you're like, okay. Yeah. Like, let's take a look at everything. And then and my neck was worse than my middle of my back. Yeah. Like, when we looked at everything, and then it was funny how I was just like kind of overlooking that. And I was just kind of gotten used to it, you know? So I think it's important.
Well, I've always thought, I just went to the dentist on Friday and I don't have any tooth pain, but I'd imagine if I said, hey, like this tooth hurts, they would probably still look at all my teeth. And so that's how I think chiropractic should be, is like, okay, your neck hurts and maybe the problem is coming from there, but like, let's check the rest of everything too. Yeah. And actually I will tell you my experience a lot of times, in terms of like real spinal, like issue condition, I will see that, other areas of the spine might even look worse or more stressed or degenerative than where you're even having pain. Yeah. So, I think it's just important to look at it all. It's all connected. Absolutely. Yeah. So.
All right. So if people want to learn more about their own spine or have questions for you, how can they connect with you?
So our office, people ask like, where's your office located? If you're in Tampa, hopefully, and you've lived there for some time, you know where the Bucs Stadium play, the Raymond James Stadium. We just tell them we're about 10 minutes north of the Raymond James Stadium. So we're on Northdale, Mabry, and West Waters. You can call our office anytime. We're happy. We do free consultations, so we don't charge you to come in and just like look through your health history, what's going on. Let's see how you're moving. Let's see if you do have something. I would say probably the best way to contact us. I mean, like nowadays you can go to our website. You can actually book an appointment through our website, which is cfctampa.com. Again, our office is Connect Family Chiropractic. You can call us by phone, social media. I mean, I think nowadays people can just like, if they're going to find you, they can find you.
Absolutely.
But probably the easiest way is just give us a call and we'll find a time, that fits with your schedule.
Yeah. You guys do make it really easy. You can text their office. They have a really good app for rescheduling, which is always nice because you can just go in there and say, oh, like I can't make it. I'm supposed to be there today at 4 and, my day's going crazy. It's just so easy to reschedule, and like the app's great, but also I can always just text your office and they are super responsive.
The nice thing too is because our adjustments, I mean, I'm not going to need you to be there an hour every visit. Like sometimes it's like 5 or 10 minutes. And so we will find some time for you to reschedule through the day, and I will make sure, unless something crazy's happened, that we get to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that was another misconception when I started going is, you think it's going to be like an hour appointment every time. Sure. And it is so quick that, and then it's nice because I always go like on Mondays and at the end of my day. Right. So it kind of makes me like wrap up my day. I have something good to do. And then since the appointment's relatively short, we usually do go we go for a walk or something afterwards. Sure. So it's like a nice kind of like, we've built this routine in.
Yeah. So. Yeah. The way, just to kind of add to this is like the way typically things work is like the first visit, we'll do kind of like the paperwork, we'll do some testing, we'll do some x-rays, we'll do that nerve assessment. So typically that could be like 45 minutes to an hour. Again, depends on like how much do you have going on. And then after that, we kind of just have you go back. I go over your x-rays with you. If we took them, I'll go over like what's the game plan, and your second visit is kind of when we start. And then where you're at now, like those subsequent visits, typically they're 5 or 10 minutes, unless you ever come in one day, which has happened and someone's like, hey, I really messed up my back at the gym, or I slipped it or something. We'll make sure it wasn't like something so severe where we might need to re-x-ray. But typically it's like, hey, we just need a little bit more time with you, and we'll go ahead and get you kind of adjusted and patched up. Yeah. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome. And again, go check them out. You know, do your health maintenance. It's super important. And thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, Yvette.